Ricky Glaser here, welcome back to another video. Now, today we're going to be exploring the very exciting topic, is skateboarding a sport? It's been up for debate for decades. Is skateboarding a sport? Is it not? Now with skateboarding making it into the Olympics, people overwhelmingly seem to say that it is, but I don't necessarily think that that is the clear-cut case, and we're going to explore all the different arguments and get to the bottom of it in this video. So let's get right into it. So I guess we'll start with what is the definition of a sport. So if I have a look on the dictionaries right here, Google seems to think an activity involving physical exertion and skill in which an individual or team competes against another or others for entertainment. Okay, interesting. Before we make too much judgments, why don't we look at the origins of the word sport? It came in the 1400s from Old French as disporter. Now disporter says to take pleasure, to amuse oneself. To divert, amuse, please, play, seek amusement. And if we literally translate it, it means carry away. The mind from serious matters, from des away, porter to carry. Okay, very interesting. So the old French definition, I feel like it does kind of fit, but the modern definition, I don't know if that's fit into skateboarding right now. So the arguments for yes, people tend to say, well, it's a physical activity. It requires exertion and skill. You can compete against each other. There's all skate competitions. Skateboarding's in the Olympics. Of course, it's a sport. Then the side for no, they tend to say, well, skateboarding is more than a sport. It is an art form. It is a lifestyle. It is a culture. When I think about this, I try to think of similar things. So we say, is NFL a sport? Yes, no. Okay, clearly, yes. Is golf a sport? Yes, no, yes. But then if you get into more interesting things like, is fishing a sport? Then it's kind of like, ooh, yeah, I guess. But my personal favorite that I think is the most similar to skateboarding is dancing a sport? Now, I had a look online and I feel like there's a little bit of a mixed bag, same as skateboarding. People are not really sure which way, and they're definitely arguing both ways. The thing with dancing is literally the first ever humans became dancing. Let's look up some of the history of dancing right now. Yeah, right here. The natural impulse to dance may have existed in early primates before they evolved into humans. So literally we've been dancing for so long. Dance has been an important part of ceremony, rituals, celebrations, entertainment, since before birth of the earliest human civilizations. And it says they got 10,000-year-old paintings in India, and we got Egyptian tomb paintings in 3,300 BC. So, okay, so we've been dancing for a really long time. Now, were these people competing in a sport at this time? I think absolutely not. They're dancing because they enjoy dancing, because it makes sense to them, it's fun to them, they challenge themselves, they enjoy it with others. They're just doing it because they love doing it. They're not doing it to train, they're not doing it to go in the dance competition. Their early primates are just doing it because it's great. Now a lot of people say, well, dancing, they have competitions, they have judges, they have scoring, of course it's a sport. But see, I don't think that's valid because, like I'm saying, it's been around for so long, it's all encompassing this such a big thing. Just because they have one competitive aspect of it, I don't think that overwhelmingly creates dancing into being a sport. So you could say, well, you could make a competition in anything. You can make hot dog eating a competition. And I bet some of you might even say, well, yeah, that is a sport. But you can literally just make anything into a competition. And because you make a competition, does that mean every single time someone eats a hot dog, they're competing in a sport, they're doing sports? I don't think that's the case. I think it makes much more sense that a competitive aspect of something can be completely separate from the overall thing. It is just a little competitive part of that thing that not every person doing that thing partakes in. I actually just posted on my Instagram and on YouTube and I said, is skateboarding a sport? Boom, overwhelmingly yes, 90% yes, 90% yes. And to me, it gets me wondering because I feel like people in their soul, in their intuition, in their gut instinct, they want to say yes because they feel like if you say no, it's not a sport, it's a negative thing. But honestly, I don't think of it as a negative thing at all. I actually think of it as a more positive thing. Because if we keep going on the dancing analogy, if you start saying dancing is only a sport and nothing more, I feel like that's way more negative than saying dancing is a sport, how awesome, yeah, it's a sport. So personally, I think saying no, it's not a sport is actually more positive because it just makes more sense and it is this bigger thing that isn't just contained to the competitive aspect of it. And now I know you say, well, yeah, Ricky, you made some good points, but is in the Olympics, and Olympics get to decide what is sport, what is not. You know what? The Olympics is just one organization. Yes, it is a big organization. It has a lot of respect in the community. It is this thing that's been running for super long. But still, it's just one organization of people. And if they say something, does that change the fabric of the world to make it truth? Like, I don't necessarily think so. Yeah, I'm hyped that skating is in the Olympics. That's great. Am I going to train to become an Olympian to go skating? No, I'm just going to go have fun skating, continue living my life. So I don't think the Olympics has this all ever deciding thing whether it is a sport or not. Just because it made it in there in the competitive aspect, I still think the bigger picture of skateboarding as a whole creates an argument that it isn't a sport. My view personally is I do not really care if you call it a sport. I do not really care if you don't call it a sport. I never call it a sport myself, but when I hear someone else call it a sport, I would never correct them because it doesn't matter at all. If you like skating, go skating. You know, have fun skateboarding. It's fun to just think about these things, debate the syntax, debate the wording, but honestly to me it doesn't really matter which way you label it. As long as you're having fun skating, that's all that really matters. One thing that I do like to think about though is I definitely didn't get into skating to try to beat other people in a competition, become the best. I got into skating because I loved skateboarding. I was drawn to the challenge of skateboarding. I think it really pushes you physically and mentally in such fun ways that there's all these challenges to overcome. There's this unlimited creativity. There's all these cool experiences that you can have through skateboarding, and you can meet all these great people and just enjoy being a part of this greater community. And there's so many skaters that will never go in a competition ever, will never consider training for a competition because they're too busy riding the skateboard to the shop having fun. I think it doesn't really matter if it's in the Olympics, if there's competitions, if it's physically exerting. I think skateboarding means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And overwhelmingly, there's so many people skateboarding in the world that not all of them are doing it in this sport competitive thing. And this competitive thing shouldn't be the end all be all either. I personally don't really care too much for competitions. I think skating is this other thing on its own. It doesn't have rules. It doesn't have winners or losers. It doesn't have cheaters. It doesn't have all these restrictions that sports do have to have because they can only kind of exist in this sporting competitive element. If someone is a tennis player, they can only really play tennis against other people within the rules that you kind of agree upon. You can't really just go and play tennis by yourself. I mean, yeah, you could hit the ball against the wall, but like, it's not really the same as actually playing tennis. That's what's great about skateboarding is because if you have one person, if you have two people, it doesn't really make a difference. I think skating in its purest form is further away from a competition, honestly, because that's where you're gonna do your best. In the competition, you're only going to do things that you can try to land, whereas when you're by yourself in the cool of the 100 attempts that you're trying to do one thing, that's where skateboarding really exists, in my personal opinion. Guys, let me know what you think. I think skateboarding isn't a sport, but I know a lot of you are going to bring all the arguments into the comments, and I would love to hear it. Please change my mind why it is a sport. Please back me up why it isn't a sport. I want to hear all of your guys' thoughts. I think it is an interesting thing, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter as long as we're all having fun skateboarding. So leave all your thoughts in the comments. That's going to be it for this video, guys. Hit that I like skate button. Ring that I like skate bell. Check out some of my other videos, and we'll see you in the next one.